The Braxton family is one of the most toxic families on TV right now, but you won't be able to tell if you don't have the eye. Like, say, it's easy to tell Love and Hip Hop is really toxic because of the way this family presents. But I'm going to show you some of the signs that this family has so much going on. My major takeaway is you have to tell the truth. You have to call a thing, and then you have to do things differently if you actually want healing and health and happiness within a family. Hey, welcome to my channel. I am Dr. Sharice, and this is Spirit Soul Sense, information for your soul. I help Black men and women heal from trauma and toxic relationships. I also have 4 sisters, no brother, so it's just 5 of us, sort of like the 5 girls. When the Braxton family came out first, I was very interested and intrigued because, oh my gosh, here's this successful family, all these girls, and they're so close, we'll get into that. And I was really resonating with it because at that time I was extremely close to my sisters. Now we're just close. I was extremely close to my sisters before. And so I love seeing this Black family on TV just living and loving and, succeeding at life. I'm trying to figure out when it was that I realized this family was toxic. And maybe it was, a while soon after. But at that time, when they first came out, I think I was just learning deeper about psychopathology and then putting my own understanding about life, laws of the universe, spirituality on top of that for metaphysical explanations about why people get sick. Some memorable moments for me was Towanda being Toni's assistant for so long and having such difficulty getting out of being her assistant. It was Tamar's relationship with Vince when they had their own show, realizing how abusive and toxic their relationship was. And another big one for me was their Iyanla Van Zandt episode. And the way Tamar was acting, I don't know if it was that time in my life where I was just like, easily identifying the problem child, but the problem child holds so many secrets and shows all of the dysfunction that exists within the family. It's easy to identify them and think that once they change or once they're fixed, that the family's problems will go away. But they are just shining the light on all of the rest of the family's problems. And so even though Tamar, and I'm going to go through each one of the toxicity of the sisters, even though Tamar, we can see, has so much emotional dysregulation, the rest of her family has so many issues too. Oh, so many issues too. But let's start with Toni. One of the things that I think that happened in the Braxton family is they couldn't form the group, or they couldn't keep the group going because Traci got pregnant and the record label only wanted Toni, or that was the deal. We'll take Toni. And so Toni became the star of the family. She was already, the golden child, the favored one. But I often tell people that the golden child experiences as much trauma and dysfunction as the problem child, the black sheep of the family. It just looks a different way. So in Toni's case, she has developed an autoimmune disorder. Now, these are one of those disorders that medicine and science has a really hard time diagnosing and finding the reason for, because I think a lot of it is psychological and spiritual. When you hold secrets, or when you hold the responsibility of the entire family on your back, you've been given this by parents. I'm going to assume, I have no idea, right? This is all speculation. These are not my clients. When you are given and you take on the mantle of, I am the savior, I am the helper, I am the fixer of my family, and I'm the one that, is responsible for all these people, I have to succeed because so many people are depending on me. When that's been given to you by your parents, probably your mother, and you don't want that responsibility, and in fact, it's not supposed to be yours, your body rebels. Your body attacks itself. It's sort of like one of those wake-up calls where it's like, something is not right. Fix me, help me, prioritize me. And when you don't, you're going to keep getting the same lesson until you learn it. Toni has been given ample opportunity to pull away from her family, to do less, to work less, and being sick, physically ill, is a really good reason to cank out, to say, oh, I can't do it because I'm sick. What I usually help my clients do is figure out a way to build up to saying no and using it as a full sentence for responding to people and prioritizing yourself. You don't have to apologize for it, and you don't have to have an excuse for prioritizing yourself. You don't have to be sick to avoid something. You could just not do it. But in this case, because there's so much toxicity, and I don't know that anybody is really doing the work, maybe Traci was, but because there's so much drama and chaos and secrets festering in this family, it's extremely hard to be the firstborn sister and to then take a step back and say, I want to do less. I want to be available less for all the crazy goings on in my family. The next in line is the brother, and I didn't look up his name. He's not on the show. He's never on the show. He pops in his head sometimes. I think he moved away from the family, but I'm not sure. One of the things I think that might have happened with him, when you're different, not that he's different from the rest of them, but when you can perceive noticeable differences between you and the rest of the family. So in this case, he's the only boy. You may get an opportunity to observe things in a way and perceive things in a way that would have been much more difficult for, say, the sister right under him, Traci, to perceive. So I'm hypothesizing one of the things that he did was create boundaries with his family to say what he will and will not be participating in. He said, you know what, I might come for big events, I might show my face every now and then on the reality show, but on a regular basis to sign up to film with my family, I'm not doing it. There's no way I'm doing it, because he understands the craziness and the chaos that ensues when they all get together, because they're not all that close. I think this season of the Braxtons really highlight that they don't really put each other, they don't really talk, they don't really want to be around each other. And the brother may have figured that out a long time ago. So I don't know that he has any physical or emotional problems. If he does, he's dealing with them on his own and not using TV as a platform to advertise himself or feed his ego or anything like that. Next up is Traci, who died from cancer 2 or 3 years ago. Now, Traci reminds me of someone who was part of my family friends who died, and she didn't deserve it, right? She had a big heart. She was kind. She was loving. She was growing, working on herself. And then to die of cancer, it's really like a heartbreak to the momentum that was being experienced at that point in time. I don't remember all the details about Traci in the years that she was on the Braxtons, but she was kind of like it's just Traci, right? Like, because she got pregnant earlier, she got married. I think she's been in the longest relationship that was on the show. And I don't remember if that, marriage was healthy or not healthy. Maybe they just had regular married people problems, but they were sticking it out. And what we saw, he was on a show with her. They looked like there was support, that they were raising this child and figuring out, doing their best. Traci developing cancer signaled to me the family is still not dealing with so much. And even though Traci's working on herself and wanting to be better, one of the things that may have benefited her was to create even more boundaries and space with her family. I think she was doing that mentally, distancing herself from like being overly involved in the emotions of others, because they kind of grew up in an enmeshed family where you thought everything was everybody's business and you're supposed to protect and take care and focus on so many other people and not necessarily prioritize yourself. So I think Traci was trying to do the work. I'm not sure how much physical, right? So I also encourage people, like, you need to acknowledge it, feel the emotion of it, and then we have to do things differently. So what were those boundaries she was setting with them? Was she still making herself available to them? Was she still an emotional support for all of the drama going on? I don't know. I know that people who develop cancer, something is festering in the body. There's something that needs to be addressed, because there's a spiritual solution to every problem. There's a reason there are all these physical and emotional problems in this family. You have to root it out and take it up. Like, you really have to get to the root of it, which is an extremely painful thing. If you ever thought about a conversation that you feared, telling somebody no, or setting a boundary with somebody that you really loved or that you thought might impact you in a negative way, In this family, talking about certain things causes emotional pain that they may experience as physical pain that lingers in the body and grows into something malignant. Do you see like the themes here? How all these patterns are interconnected? What this family needs is a deep healing prayer session, and then for people to actually call out what the problem is and then do things differently. So Traci, she was ready to leave this world. She left. 2 years later, they are still not dealing with her being on. So Towanda is next. She presents as very put together, very cool-headed, very reasonable, very logical. She also presents as cold and indifferent. Under all of that, because in the clip that's been going around of them at grief counseling, family grief counseling together, she's basically saying to Tamar that whatever you want to do is fine with me. Here are my boundaries. I have no feelings about it. I feel numb. Whenever a client tells me that they feel numb, I know numb is a subset of sad, and there are strong feelings under the numbness. It's not nothing. Numbness is not nothing. Even indifference is more like a conflicting feeling of frustration and happiness, but it's a lot of different feelings involved. So maybe you're not allowing yourself to feel it, but if you walk around saying that you're numb, I know that you are pushing down, maybe repressing memories or actual feelings instead of dealing with them. Towanda has been the one in charge of helping Toni succeed. She was the one that they sent to help the nephew with the police incident or whatever it was. And that's the role she plays in the family. It's no wonder Towanda has alopecia. And I know there are different perspectives out there, but something like alopecia, there is no physical, it's not traction alopecia, right? It's not because you pulled it out so many times that your root of your hair is not growing back in. In this case, it is very much one of those things that doctors have a hard time explaining. Why did all of my hair fall out? My hair would never fall out. Why did all of Towanda's hair fall out? Why? And for any Black woman, because it's a very common thing in Black womanhood to develop alopecia of some kind, another really popular one is developing fibroids. Both of those things are a sign of the trauma that's been experienced and of the secrets that are festering in the body, causing stress on it. And so just stress alone can lead to alopecia. Like the medical doctor people will say, oh, stress can cause alopecia. How? Have you ever asked that? How can you worrying about something cause the cells in your head to die out and all of your hair to drop? It must be deeper than that. It has to be deeper than that, because that alone doesn't make sense. And I try to stress to people too, like the impact of stress. But stress is like a buzzword, a big word that doesn't get to the root of the problem. The root of the problem is what you need to deal with. Whatever it is that you're worrying about that's leading to the stress needs to be figured out. I have no idea what it is in Towanda's case. I don't know if she's tired of being the responsible one. In the clip of them at family grief counseling, she said, I just want to focus on who's in my household. I don't want to focus on everybody else. She also explained, viewing one of her sister's kids as her kids and just feeling like this overly involved enmeshment between family members that occurs in a lot of toxic families, where codependence is one of the ways that they relate to each other, using passive or passive-aggressive communication to get their needs met. So maybe after Towanda just focuses on who's in her actual household and balancing her needs with her kids and her man, I don't think they're married, she will find that her hair will grow back. Maybe not, because there might be a whole other thing for her to deal with, traumas that they haven't shared on the show that may need to come out. Trina is next. And Trina, I don't remember that many details about Trina besides the accent that she puts on and the fact that she was married to that white man. I think they were also in like a codependent, toxic relationship, but the details of it escape me. I do feel like one of the things Trina tries to do is stand out, right? She does like this hand thing. She does the fake accent, talking in a certain way thing. And I think it's just one of the ways amongst the group of sisters that she uses to be unique, like be an individual. Why she decided she wanted to see her sister take her last breath, I'm not sure. Somebody like me, when we think about, I didn't like when Towanda said, you're not strong enough to handle it. I don't know if it has anything to do with strength, because then it suggests that Towanda is strong enough. I think Towanda knows how to compartmentalize enough that she doesn't feel, whereas Trina kind of holds all her emotions on her sleeve and doesn't filter, and then lets all the things out. So her watching Traci die and then being so affected by it now in the present, what do I think about that? You're making her pain, her pain, your pain, even though she's in a peaceful place now, because they're very Christian, right? Trina also deals with emotional eating. I don't know all of the whatever other ways that she's using to cope in a negative way with her feelings, but she definitely has a hard time dealing with her feelings, right? Whereas Towanda is the one holding everything in, Trina is letting everything out and then eating her feelings instead of processing them. That's a theme throughout everybody in the family. I think like Toni intellectualizes her feelings. Towanda doesn't deal with them. They all don't deal with them, but Towanda ignores them. Trina feels all of them, but then doesn't know how to process them out of her body. And then we have Tamar, who is like a hurricane, twister, tornado, wherever she goes, whenever she's having strong feelings. Because Tamar is the last one in the family, often families treat children in the birth order in a different way. So she was clearly identified as the baby in the family and treated as the baby in the family, not someone who could get things done or manage her own needs and wants. I'm assuming that every time she cried, there was somebody there to pick her up, and she was never taught or encouraged to self-soothe. Remember, all of these people were babies at one time, right? And so we're gonna get to Miss E. She was never encouraged to deal with her own feelings. I think when we're dealing with codependency, which I didn't define, but one of my favorite definitions for it is emotional dysregulation. Like, you cannot deal with your own emotions, and so you find other ways to cope with other people or other things. For some people, this might be alcohol. For other people, it might be a relationship. And if the relationship is good, and it could be family relationship, romantic relationship, friendship relationship, once the relationship is good, I feel good. Whereas it's very, very important for you as a person, especially as a woman, to not seek validation from other people and to be okay with you. Tamar feels very unokay, feels very unworthy. I don't know this for sure. This woman never told me this. I'm just going based on the pattern, the behaviors that she's shown, and what I've seen with other women that I've worked with. Tamar feels incredibly alone. She feels incredibly isolated, and she feels a sense of emptiness and worthlessness. It's why she keeps finding another relationship to find herself into when all of the relationships are the same. I thought her and Vince had something special until I realized, oh my gosh, this is so toxic. Then she moved on to the Jamaican, I forget which one he was. But they also had this really toxic relationship. And you can see on my channel, there are lots of videos about toxic, abusive relationships. And one of the hallmarks of those is really good sex, because the sex is used to fix all the problems in the relationship versus, hey, we hash things out, we come to our resolution, and then we reconvene and, reconnect with sex. The sex is otherworldly because they use it to fix all the problems in it. So with the Caribbean, I forget what he was. With that guy, there were lots of instances of them alluding to their great sexual relationship. But I imagine in this relationship she's in with, I don't want to be disrespectful, but I do want to call him the Colonel. That's so wrong. That is so wrong. I feel so bad. With the white man, let's just call him the white man. But that relationship she's in with the white man is another one of those relationships where I'm sure she's having amazing sex. Amazing. It's not amazing. What it is the emotional involvement that's wrapped up in the sex leads to it feeling euphoric. So I think she's perceiving it as amazing, and that this is a person she has to fight for and battle other people for and keep going back and forth for, even though this man continues to embarrass her and prove to us that Tamar does not view herself highly. She doesn't. In fact, she views herself so lowly, and that's what all the antics are. And I understand In adulthood, pushing 50, those are really frustrating things to engage with and to have to be in the room with. But it really is a sign that this person is in so much pain. And we were given information when they were on Iyanla, when Iyanla was on their show, I think it was, where Tamar was molested by a family member or a family friend or something like that. I think there are a lot more secrets like that in the family that need to come out. When that came out, I think one of the sisters maybe told a producer, and the producer told Iyanla, and then Iyanla brought it up because you have to deal with things in the light. You have to call it out. You have to shine a light on it. And this family does not really want to shine lights on things. So even when Miss E, we've got to her, she's the ringleader of all of this. When we get to her, she does not know how to hold Tamar accountable. She knows how to string pretty words together and use a motherly, right, mother bear tone when talking to her children. But I don't think behind closed doors there's any substance behind her words. I think she coddles, I think she enables, and I do not think she is an example of what healthy and happiness looks like. I don't know if there's any physical ailments in her body, but when she looks at her children, I'm not sure she's experiencing them as they are. I think they're a collective to her, and it's important for the collective to be close. It's important for the collective to have success. It's important for them to show up for me and take pictures together, but I'm not sure she's really concerned with the actual emotional experience that each person is going through. I think Miss E is one of those women who is very much concerned about the optics, and if it looks good, it's good enough. I think her being with her ex-husband for all those years, when she knew he was cheating and had a whole other family somewhere else, provides us a sense of what she's willing to tolerate, not just in life, but in herself. That if I just ignore this thing, it's not that important, I don't really have to deal with it. So I have no idea what happened in Miss E's life that would lead her to behave like this with her ex-husband and staying with him, even though he was not interested in being in the relationship. They were probably in a sexless marriage for years. But when all of the 6 children got together to take a picture, it looked nice, and that was good enough. That's what she was taught, I'm guessing. That's what she was taught when she was growing up, was the right way to do things. And after I moved to the States, I've heard a lot more of these kind of stories where all of these family secrets existed. You know, there was a family somewhere else, the secret there, here, and people just don't talk about it, or they tell like blatant lies. Well, that was really your dad, but I lied and said it was this guy. All of that stuff leads to so many problems down the road for people because secrets fester. They really do. They cause a lot of harm. And so what I would strongly recommend these folks do is actually take, I think it's Dr. Spirit, take Dr. Spirit up on her wanting to help root out the issues in this family. She's competent to help people actually do the work. There's so many people who, you know, get on social media and they don't know nothing about nothing. But Dr. Spirit, I think, really could help them move through the difficulties. And maybe only one of them go. Maybe only Trina goes to her one-on-one. But I think the whole family could benefit from seeing their own individual therapists and also coming together as a family to discuss family issues. Part of what therapy, couples therapy, family therapy is intended to do is to help you learn how to communicate with the other person. So you practice it with a third party so that each person makes sure they're hearing each other. In like this Braxton family case, I think, you know, they would benefit from having like a physical object so that only the person talking with only the person with the object can talk, because they overtalk each other so much and they never really get to the root of anything because there's all this back stuff happening. So they probably need to go back to childhood, to some of their first experiences together, some of their first conflicts together, because that's probably where the root and where the secrets are for them in the family. I hope you learned something about metaphysics, about a spiritual solution for every problem, about how secrets can cause a lot of pain in your person, including health consequences. Let me know if you have any questions. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. And thank you for watching.